Life is a journey made up of experiences. Some are good, some bad, some happy, some sad. We may all be different, but we are connected to the fact that no matter who we are, our stories all have hills and valleys. And so tonight, we dedicate this episode to those who gave up the glitter of gold for greater gain. Welcome to Sim Soul Sessions. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. Tonight, we talk to former broadcast journalist, sports broadcast journalist, now lecturer, Brian Cuff, and we're inviting you later to join in tonight's conversation by using the hashtag #SimSoulSessions. Before we talk to Brian, though, we're going to check in with one of our previous guests on the show. Tessan Chin was our guest during season 2 of our show, and we want to know how she's been since she sat in this safe space and what's going on with her. And so we join in with her now. Hello, Tess.
Hi, Sim.
How are you, my love? How are you?
I'm doing great. All things considered, we are well, thank you, and I hope you are too.
I am very well, thank you. And I'm really happy to be able to catch up with you to see how you've been since you sat on this chair that's beside me. Right after the show, you made a post in social media thanking me for asking you the questions that you did not want to answer. You've always been a very private person, very kind of protective of your personal information. Tell me how you felt after the show and what was the feedback like out of the show?
It's actually quite strange because, you know, a lot of the times when you open up about stuff like that, you are afraid of being judged or afraid of, you know, letting people in further into a situation or into parts of your life that you already deemed painful or just off limits. And I actually found it to be the complete opposite experience where it was just liberating and it was freeing in that way that, you know, I got messages from other people that were going through something similar or who were encouraged by it or, you know, it touched them in a certain way and it just absolutely helped in a very tangible way to kind of heal certain little parts of me that I realized that I was just locking away or keeping closed. And, you know, there's really something to be said about speaking about the things that you feel hold you bondage or feel that have held you or made you quiet at some point. And it was truly freeing. And I thank you so much for the opportunity
Well,
to
I
do that.
thank you for coming and opening up about it. And you did it with such grace. As the feedback I got from folks is that you were speaking your truth, but in doing so, you were so careful about protecting everybody who's still so near and dear to you. So a lot of people took that away from the program, that you can go through these kind of skirmishes and these kind of issues, but you don't have to be bitter and targeted in how you speak about it.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I am blessed that I get to have a platform like yours to be able to speak on things like this. But at the same time, not everybody gets that opportunity. Not everybody gets the opportunity to tell their story or to have that experience. So I I don't take that for granted, you know, Sim. And it's something that, like I said, was a very wonderful experience for me to be able to just open up in that way.
I think about the messages for me, some of the key takeaways out of the show. One, that God restores. Two, that love liberates. And three, that our best days are ahead. What's right with today, taking the nuggets and giving gratitude for everything. I want to know where you are now in terms of your love of singing. We spoke about the fact that you had fallen out of love with it for a little bit after The Voice because of how busy it got, but also the inspiration that your family has now brought you. You say you don't want Zaya to read about how great her mother was. You want her to see it and how Brandon inspires you. So tell me about the music. What's going on with that? Where are you now in that space?
Do you know what? I am finally at a place where I feel like I want to create again, and it's such a special place because I haven't felt that for a very long time in music. And I realized the other day that you have to come back to why you originally did it. You know, you have to rediscover why you're here and why it called to you in the first place. So I had to remember that 5-year-old girl that picked up the mic. I had to remember that 18-year-old that was on tour with Sir Jimmy Cliff. I had to remember that hunger. I had to remember just the love of why I was doing this. And I believe a big part of remembering was connected to the loves of my life, also being Brandon and Zaya, that they helped me to rediscover that. They helped to kind of unlock that and heal that once again. And I realized for me, I'm always going to sing. I'm a singer. That's why I've been put here. But I also realized I don't have to do it in the way that not everybody expects, or I don't have to do it for the reasons or the accolades, or but I'm doing it strictly from a place of I love this, and this is why I'm here, and this is what I want to do, and I want to create, and I want to have fun, and I want to be adventurous and explore this once again. You know, I hope I'm not blabbing.
Oh, I love it. I love the joy that's coming out of you. It's beautiful. You're doing it for the love, girl. You ain't doing it for the likes.
That's right. I had to remember that because sometimes we get so caught up in everything else that we forget the actual craft of what we're doing. We forget the actual, we have to bring it on back to basics. I love to sing. That period. I love to write.
Period, as you would say.
So there we are.
We can't wait to hear what's in store from this inspiration that is obviously just coming out of your pores. As I see it, you just look so happy and so peaceful.
Thank you.
And I love that for you. It looks good on you, Tess.
I am happy.
Yeah, I can tell.
I have my days. I have my days now, but I have a good compass, you know, and it always brings me back to the center. And it's just, yeah, I'll have to remember that when the days don't feel so easy or feel so bright. That, okay, we bring it on back to our center and our why. So.
And our best days are ahead. Thank you, Tess Boo, for that update. Love you so much. Thank you for checking in.
Thank you, Sim. Love you too.
All right. All the best to you, Tess. When we come back, guys, we're going to enter the safe space with our guest on tonight's show, Brian Koff. Talk some more about him and with him right after this. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest tonight, former broadcast journalist, now NCU lecturer, Brian Koff, who's worked very hard to get into the profession. He always wanted to do this, and he got in only to realize that it was destroying everything he loved. A tough but necessary decision has now led him to a place of peace, he says, so he's here to tell us more. It's not a mistake that you're here, it's serendipity. So don't tell me you're in the parking lot wondering if we called the right person.
I was.
Why would you even?
On the way, I was telling my wife, maybe it's not me. I'm just waiting for the producer to say, it was a joke.
Why?
When I look at the persons who've been here before, when I look at the impact they've had on me and other persons, I'm little old Brian. I'm the least of the apostles, so to speak. So to be here to share my story is huge. I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm overwhelmed, but I tell my students, you all have a voice, so I guess, as you said, it's my turn.
And you do know the story about David and Goliath, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. All right, so like many of the guests who've sat there, who you've alluded to, stories are very powerful, and for many of them it was the first time they're opening up in this way. I think it might be the same for you. I mean, we've learned some stuff about you. When you walked away from media, it was in the news. And the reactions from that story were interesting, and we'll get there. But you have been carrying a lot for a very long time, and you've never felt it prudent to open up about it. Largely because, as one of my former guests said, men don't really talk about these things, right?
Right.
And so you've never really spoken about the things we're going to talk about tonight. So let's start at the beginning. About the Brian that from a very young age was carrying what you thought was too much of a load for you as a young man. So you grew up in the church,
I did.
right? Your mom became unwell when you were how old?
I won't tell you the exact age, but it
Okay.
was right about the time when I was becoming a teenager.
Okay.
I remember preparing for coming here, my aunt told me that when mommy was pregnant with me, that was when they found out that she had a heart problem. So that was somewhat of a revelation to me. I started wondering, if I'm to be blamed. It happens. It happens. And when I was becoming a man, so to speak, I was told that at any minute I could hear that my mother has passed. And hearing that every single time I've seen my aunts calling me, or my grandmother, or some close members of the family, even to this day,
To this very day.
this very day, I think this is the call that I've been prepared for. It has been rough. There are moments when, and this is bad, but there are moments when I remember no news is good news. So when I don't hear from anybody, I'm at peace because everything is well. If I don't hear or see grandma calling or mommy or auntie calling, mommy's phone, I'm not worried. But the minute the phone rings, I am like, this could be it. And it affected me so much. High school, doing CXCs, I grew up as somewhat of a prodigy. I started reading at, I think it was 2. I was put on a block, my father will tell the story, to read The Gleaner in front of all his friends from JPS. And going into high school, everybody expected great things of me and from me. But when mommy got sick, it started changing how I viewed the world. It started changing how much I put into the academics. I just started existing, and it affected my grades for a big part. It was in that same period that daddy went overseas to help us financially, and I was lost. I was,
Because when you needed that North Star to help you get into manhood,
yes,
he wasn't there.
yes, and I understand what he was trying to do, but there were times in my life when I hated him for it. I was upset because I believe that if he was here, I would have been better off. If he had been here, mommy would have been better off. And I struggled with a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I went to school not thinking about school. I was in an exam, PTA, students coming in with their parents, and I broke down in the exam. At St. Jago, I was at the window, and I was writing, I think it was, I don't remember which CXC paper, but it was a PTA day, and people coming in, and I saw them, and I just started crying, because neither mommy nor daddy would have been there.
Your mom is still here, praise God.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
She celebrated her 60th birthday October last year,
Yeah.
and
Not without a share of issues. She had heart
she
problems.
had heart
She's had 2
problems.
strokes.
Yes, she removed a valve, so now her heart ticks. How we know she's okay is when we hear it ticking.
Stop. Really?
And I've written so many poems about it, how literal time is with her. She will be sitting across from me, you just hear tick, 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 tick. If her heart rate speeds up, tick, tick,
Really?
tick. They removed a valve, and it's a mechanical valve now. And it's a constant reminder, apart from the scar in her chest, it's a constant reminder that this woman is a champion.
So when you're taking care of her because dad's not here, you have a lot of responsibility as a caregiver. And that was one of the moments in your walk with God that you were like, look, God, really?
Yeah.
You said this was not gonna, you said you would heal her, you said you gave up.
I've struggled with my faith. I grew up in the apostolic faith, and going to church over the years, hearing that mommy's going to be healed. mommy's gonna make a full transformation. And watching her physically deteriorate before my eyes, losing weight, being in the hospital time and time again, it broke me. And I believe in God, and but it was a point where I stopped going to church. It was a point where I stopped praying. I was like, whatever happens, happens. I remember encouraging so many persons and trying to tell them, don't give up. I remember hearing so many words after words, encouraging persons that God is going to make a breakthrough, and then seeing it. But when I went back home, I dreaded going home from high school. I dreaded going home from university, because just seeing mommy, knowing that she's struggling, depression, she's struggling with a heart situation, it drove me to the point of saying that I didn't deserve to be here anymore. I didn't want to be here anymore because the pain was so real.
You said you've dealt with many ends or potential ends in your life. The potential end of your mom's life, your own contemplation of ending your own life. You had to deal with the end of your career.
Yeah.
And so when it got to a point where everything got too much and it almost ended your marriage, you were like, this can't have broke my marriage, because I've seen ends and I've lived past all of them. We're going to tell you more about Brian's story after this break, so please stay with us. More on Simsoul Sessions to come. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Brian Cuff is my guest tonight, and we're talking about how his mom's illness, his dad's absence, albeit for good reasons, he was abroad working, had an impact on his life. And so you went through school and you did your CXCs. You got 6 subjects?
6 of
but you didn't do
8.
as well as you hoped.
Right. Well, as
do.
everybody else hoped.
Right, because there was a lot
There was a lot of
expectation.
My family members, there were some of them who were like expecting me to do everything they didn't. And because of mom's illness, I really didn't care as much. And I remember going to church before results were out and telling my close friends I was going to run away because my results are going to be so bad that I'm going to be ashamed of letting my family down and breaking my mom's heart. When I actually got the results, I was nervous. I didn't expect any, but when I pulled the paper and I did 8 subjects, I wanted to do medicine, and I saw 6 of the 8, I really felt some hope. And the first person I saw, and it's somebody I know, and in that moment, I know they didn't mean any harm, but their initial response was, "That's your results?" Because again, everybody expected me to be up there. When he said it, it broke me. And I folded the paper and I walked away. I didn't want to tell anybody when I heard people talking about their results. And mommy asked me to call her when I got it. So I went in the office and I called her. And I turned my back from everybody else and she said, what are your results like? And I said, I got 6 of the 8 subjects. And she screamed with so much joy. I felt better.
And some of the grades you weren't pleased with, but the fact that she was celebrating when everybody else was tearing you down propelled you.
I got 5 3s and 1 1. And people started calling me Forrest after that because of pure trees, so to speak.
That's high school for you.
But when mommy saw the 1, she was so over the moon and proud of me that it made the difference between me actually saying what I said about running away and actually doing it.
Yeah. So you went through high school, you got the results, you went to 6th form, miraculously. Because that was a miracle, you say. Yeah. And then you went home for a period. No university, no nothing, and you said you thought you were going to go. Crazy.
I watched so much TV that I could tell you what was coming on every channel at different times of the day. I wanted to work, so I said I would have not applied for university, but then I didn't get a job. And I was at home, I would just get up sometimes and just walk. End up in Spanish Town from my home in Ensom City. I would just walk. I don't even know where I'm going. But
you felt purposeless?
I felt hopeless. I felt like a bum, so to speak. And I had a nervous breakdown one day where I literally was in my room and I just started crying. I felt like the world was closing in on me and there was no hope. The Brian that everybody expected to do so well was now at home. I message my friends, I'm at class, can't talk, I'm at work. And Brian is here watching TV. And my cousin said, why not try media? Come to pre-university and then try Carrimack. I didn't even know about Carrimack at that time. And I said, okay. Coming out of the house, went to pre-university, thank God for my aunts who were able to finance me, and did the entrance test. That time it was, I think, 30 for the whole Caribbean. And I was one of them. And I was like, this is a huge paper. And I'm one of them. I am here.
And that was the beginning of the
it was
rest
the
of your
beginning
life.
of
So
joy.
at this point now, you're like, I can do this. This field is great. There are people in me that you look up to, and you're like, this is really fantastic. And so you finish Carrimack, and you're recruited. You never even have to like look for a job. You're recruited to come and work in media.
I was, initially, I started out at Love. Yeah, I started out on radio. I did an internship there, and it so happened that they wanted me back. And when I applied, they were happy to have me. And then, while I was there, I just got a call to my dream. I was in high school, and a friend of mine, Jerome, and I used to always say we're going to be at TVJ one day. Well, JBC, Super Supreme, yeah, coming into to TVJ. And when I got the call, I was like, okay, I didn't apply, you know. And the person said, several persons made mention of you for this role. And when I came in and I did the interview and I was told that I got the job, the first day I stepped into studios here, I was just so grateful. I never knew I would have made it. When I saw some of the faces, and I was like, hi, you know, I'm here with you guys. I'm just sitting here with you, coming from where I was to where I am now. I'm just grateful.
It's ironic because you and I actually met. I trained you at Love.
Yes.
I trained your wife at Love. You guys were in the same class even before you got married. So you land this role now, Brian, and you think, great, the world is mine for the taking. How long was it before you realized that you and this media thing were not gonna? When did you start to realize that there were some serious issues?
I think after the proverbial dust has settled, because being in the room with Usain Bolt, Veronica Campbell-Brown, being on interviews with all these persons, working with Neville Bell and producing so many great shows, RSPL, you get a feeling that you've gotten to a point where you're at the highest. But when you get so caught up in looking at what you want to achieve, that you forget that what you are actually achieving at home is being destroyed, it's a rude awakening. And I can't tell you exactly when, but I realized over time that my relationship with my wife was becoming sour. I was doing well at work. I was getting the accolades. I got a promotion. But at home I felt like there was a demotion, you know. And before that, I was in Kingston, and my wife and daughter were in Mandeville. So traveling took a toll on us.
So there was a physical distance.
There was a physical distance.
And you were working from Kingston while
Right.
she was home.
Right.
You tell me you were watching your daughter grow
Right.
remotely. Lots of the things, her firsts would be on your phone.
Everything, her first word, her first step, everything I got via WhatsApp or watching on Instagram. And it brought me back to the place of where my dad wasn't when I needed him to be.
All right, hold on to that thought, because Brian says he felt like the cycle had started again and he was becoming his father. So let's talk to him a little bit more about that. And what led him to then make the decision that this media that he so loved and wanted to work in, he couldn't stay. We'll be right back. Talk more with Brian on the other side of this break. Back with everybody. I'm back with Brian, talking before the break about the decision he had to make when he realized the impact that working in media was having on his relationship. He said you and Basilia, Bas is his wife, we got to a point where the only time you spoke was something that had to do with your child. Communication was short. love was distant, and you had become your dad.
It's funny. I love my dad. I've spoken to him so many times, you know, but there was a point where I hated what was happening. And then I saw myself being absent. I remember growing up saying, I will not be absent from my children's life. And when I really sat down and took a stock, when I really looked at how our relationship was going, the weekends, when we would end up being together on the weekends, it flew by so quickly. It was full of so much arguments. It was toxic. And I was so upset with myself. I was so confused. I was so... I remember people coming to us and telling us they wish they had the marriage that we had. They wish they had our life. And one of the things that we try to do is we try to deal with the rough parts of the public's, out of the public's eye, because we understand that it's going to come, but it's rougher dealing with it in public. So we used to deal with it on the weekends, but it got so bad that I would go home and there would be no home. My wife would busy herself. You know, she would send Bria and you know, I'd get to spend time with her. There were arguments about raising her as well, because for the whole week, she was raising her. And when I come in, I believe it should be done this way and this should be done. And I was even being so rough with my daughter. Looking back, I made a mess.
Yeah. Bass was ready to go. She was ready to leave you.
She was.
And her parents were like, no. Just give Brian another chance.
It's so good having a great support system. Persons who, they don't necessarily need to know everything that's happening, but they want the best for you. And when she gave up and she got counseling, I was giving up in my own way, but because of how much I've been through, I was always saying, you know, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. I've fought so much.
I've been past many ends. This cannot end.
This cannot be the end.
Yeah.
You know, this is the love of my life.
Yeah.
These, because my daughter as well. And how we made it was God. Mommy and daddy, yes, but definitely God. And just God.
Tell me about the resignation. You just came to a place where you're like, I have to do this if I want to save my family.
There was one time when I was producing World Cup, and during the 15-minute break we got, my wife said, come outside. She came up and Bria just to spend that 15 minutes with me.
Oh my gosh, Bri.
And when I saw that, she made that sacrifice just to come and spend 15 minutes with me for not seeing me for the whole week, because I slept here sometimes. I knew that I had to make a sacrifice. In arguments before, it had come up where I said, I'm just going to give up my job and come. But I never meant it. And I was hurting when I said that. But when I went to my boss and I said, I believe this is best, she said something to me that sticks with me so much, that she believes I'm making the right decision, even though people will think it's an unpopular decision. And I've spoken to so many of my colleagues who've said to me, it's a bold move, it's a brave move, and they understand the demands of media. And some of them, you know, looking back, you know, if they had made a similar move, they would have felt better.
But you made the move, and the move in public, and you were dragged. People were like, are you foolish? What were some of the comments that really got to you?
Being in the Jamaican culture, especially, you know, a lot of persons were saying it's because I was insecure. And I'm putting it mildly. I was insecure and I had to be watching my wife. I didn't trust her, and I believed that she was doing all manner of things, or, you know. I personally didn't read the comments until person sent me there. I saw the story, I gave the story, and I left it. But people started messaging me, how am I feeling, how am I doing? And I'm like, okay. But when I saw some of the comments, and my students were up in arms in my defense, some of my family members and friends and our supporters, but I didn't not once reply. Because I tell my students and I tell others that those who are for you are more than those who are against you. It's just that those who are against you often speak louder.
That's right.
And Jamaicans say empty barrels.
That's right.
I leave it there.
That's right.
But it was rough. It was rough. I've never thought I would have been trolled like that. I never thought people would have. It was a low point, even though I didn't read it personally, because I made this decision for my family, and people were offended and upset and saying I was silly.
Well, those who are for you are louder than. It's always that's a key takeaway from tonight's program. It's always the ones who are not for you who speak the loudest, but those who are for you often outnumber them. Let's take a look at some of those who are for you tonight.
We are very proud parents tonight to call Brian our son. We just want him to know that we love him dearly and that he has a very, very special place in our hearts. He's a great husband to our daughter Basilia and a great dad to two of our princesses, Bella and Bria.
Yeah,
we
Brian,
love you.
Brian is really a fantastic father, you know. And Brian, just keep on doing what you're doing, man. You are the world's #1 dad.
I'm proud of you, bro. Why? Because he did the right thing. We asked the question, what would Jesus do? And my understanding is he would do anything for family. The Bible tells us, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son so that we might live. Why? Because we're a family. Because he loves us. So when it comes to making a move for your family that seems, controversial, or that seems like, what is he doing? Then once God is in it, and once he's in the center, he's at the center of it, then you're doing the right thing, which I'm sure you prayed about. I'm sure that you talked to God about it, and guess what? He's taking care of everything.
I know this is going to be a surprise, but just taking this opportunity to offer my congratulations on behalf of your mom and myself to you and your wonderful wife and kids. I'm so proud of the young man you have grown up to be, despite all the challenges in life. Just hope you'll continue to enjoy your achievements as well as your plans.
Mr. Cuff, aka Sir, aka B Sizzle. When we take picture, make rain drizzle. No, I'm not a poet like you, but I just want to take this opportunity to tell you how grateful I am to call you my mentor. Your drive, your passion, your creativity, your wisdom, your ability to see the good in everything are some of the attributes that makes working with you such a remarkable experience. Your continued support, your words of encouragement have molded me into the photographer that I am today.
Just stopping by to say I love you and to wish you heartiest congratulations today. What a wonderful thing. You are one of the best husbands and one of the best fathers that I have ever known. You're truly a wonderful family man.
Brian Cuff, aka B Rizzle, this is your brother from another mother. Saying nothing but love and respect to you. You're a real example of a father, husband, and great friend. And we know God is going to put you in the place where you can be a true example to the nation to follow.
Brian was a senior producer on TVJ Sports Network, so we worked together on a number of occasions, and he produced me a number of times. And I was very impressed with his competence. I was impressed with his discipline and his attitude towards work. And most impressed with the fact that he just wanted to learn, wanted to improve every day. And I thought he did. So Cufflink, I miss working with you, but I'm happy that you are doing what you want to do. I'm so impressed with how you live your life. I'm impressed with the way you deal with your family. I just think you're just a wonderful person overall. And I have a whole lot of respect for you.
Hi Dad, thank you for being the best father ever. Why? Because I love you, because you give me all these toys and boy. Thank you for taking care of me for my headache. And thank you for telling me what to do and not what to do. Thank you, Dad, for hugging me, kissing me, for all my fears and all my boo-boos and all of my hurt and all the places that are hurting me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So keep doing what you're doing, keep loving your family, keep making those moves. Blessings.
So God bless as you go forward. Enough love.
God bless you, my son. Take care.
So Simone, before him leave, make sure him do a tune, because I'm a poet and I'm a lyricist. But until then, Brian, enough love and respect. Jerome. Boom.
And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. A million thanks.
I am so proud of you as your other mother. God bless you and lots of love.
I love you, Daddy. We love you, Daddy. Mwah.
Oh, where you get Bria from, man? Jesus, she headed straight for this job. Let me tell you. I remember you said you got confirmation that you're doing the right thing. One day you were home doing dishes after you'd left.
Yes.
And she came and she hugged your foot. And what did she say?
When I turned and I looked at her, she said, "Daddy, you're here." I usually only saw her in the nights when she was sleeping or glimpse her on the weekends. But for her to look me in my eye and say, "I am here," it meant the world to me.
Yeah.
Because I understand the difference between presence and presence.
You better
being
believe
there.
it. You better believe. Speaking of presence, I mean, that bus stood by you despite everything is amazing. I know she's not in the feature. We couldn't get her to be in the feature, but we did get her to be here. Oh gosh, I was. Have a seat, my love. Hi, Bas. Just take the tissue out of here, because your eye full of water. Tell me about that guy over there. You guys have made it through a lot, Bas, and he's been through so much.
Yes.
And you stood by him. Was it hard?
It was hard because it's not what I'm used to in terms of Brian had a totally different upbringing than I did. So I'm used to seeing mommy and daddy together, always together. They've been married for almost 40 years. So they've always been together in the same house, all of that. So when I met Brian and I, knew what he went through and all of that, and then when I knew he was my husband, I decided that I wanted to help him to see another side of life.
Wow.
And when the rough patch hit, I think because I didn't understand initially. Well, first of all, I didn't realize that the rough patches would start so quickly because it really started a year into our marriage. And for that 3 years that we were living apart, I became detached emotionally. I wasn't interested. I remember getting closer to the 3-year period. I literally gave up. I gave up in my mind. I gave up in my heart. I gave up in my emotions. There was still something in me saying, all right, let's just push a little harder. But it was easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
But, Brian has been so consistent even throughout those times. So even when I gave up, he was still there. He was still making the effort.
You couldn't shake him, Bas. But aren't you glad that he did that?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy because I know that I want to spend the rest of my life with this man. But I could not see past what we were going through, and that was hard. And then, when people were saying, oh, I wish we had what you had, or I wish we had a marriage like yours. I mean, we protected each other, so of course I would not say anything about what we were going through, but I felt like, all right, something must get better.
So what did it for you? What made you say, you knew he was in, but you were out? So what made you finally decide, I'm gonna give this?
I think when he made the decision to leave his dream job, and he did it with no regrets, and he did it with just being focused on being there for our family, I think that said so much. And it kind of put my heart at ease that, all right, he's here, so let's give this one more shot.
Yeah. So what do you want to say to him? He's sitting on the couch today. Didn't really think his story was any big deal. And,
I know.
Even in talking about it, he's telling me during the break, I don't want to cry by your shoulder. But you see him now, stepping into owning his story. How do you feel? You must be so proud. Yeah.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you, babe. I know it was a tough choice, especially to leave your dream job to come and be with us, not knowing what it would entail, but I'm so happy that you did, because you literally saved us. And you've been so consistent. You've been such a rock for our family, and I love you. And I would not want to be doing life with anybody else but you.
All right. Okay. We'll be right back. You guys are so beautiful together. Really. All right, we're back with you, everybody. Brian, you said this lesson, or what all of this has taught you, is the power of discovering the worth in what you have versus what you thought you wanted. Right. So this is like a full circle.
It is.
For you.
Is. I'm still trying to get over what I just saw, and experienced. But I remember some years ago I heard a story. In speaking to you, you asked me about how am I doing now? Am I at peace? And I said yes. And I told you a story. There was this young upcoming businessman who was making waves, and he was making it in the media, and he wanted to find out about this little village he heard about that was happy. And he couldn't understand how they were happy when they didn't have any of the big things that he thinks are important in life. When he went there, he was with the chief, and one day the chief asked him, "What is it that you want in life?" And he says, "I want to make some money." And the chief said, "And then what?" And he says, "And then I'm going to own my own businesses." And he said, "And then what?" And he was getting annoyed. He said, "I'm going to start an empire." And he said, "Okay, and then what?" He said, "I'm going to have my empire, then I'm going to start my family." And then what? "I'm going to start my family and ensure that they carry on the legacy." And then what? He said, "Then eventually I'm going to retire and spend some time with my family and be happy." And the chief said, "That is what I'm doing right now." Mm-hmm. And it stuck with me ever since, that sometimes we strive to get to happiness or what we believe is success, that we don't realize that what we're trying to get to is actually in our laps now.
We have it.
And we overlook the fact that just being alive is a blessing. We overlook the fact that just having a family who cares, that cares about you, and having a loved one. Because when you work so hard to get to 60, 65 and retire and be happy, it's going to be so much harder after you've lived a life where you destroyed all of that happiness.
That's right.
To try and get it then.
That's
And
right.
I looked at it, my media colleagues and other professions, we work so hard, we give so much, we sacrifice so much. And I love them, kudos. But the sacrifices that some of us have made have been so rough.
Many a relationship
that has
guys in this business. So much. Balance. It's about the balance of life.
And it's so hard,
Yeah, you said there's nothing that you would change, as tough as it has all been. Because for you, what you've managed to do is take the gain out of the pain. I thought that was so powerful.
It's so hard to say. It's so hard to live. But it is the truth. I remember going to the gym with my friend Jerome, and we went to the gym for like 6 years before we started seeing any gain. People used to laugh at us and saying, "Why are you going to the gym? It's just maga, bones." But when they started seeing how strong we were becoming, it didn't physically show. But when they saw what we could do, it's so symbolic of life. We have become so much stronger because of our past experiences, even though we don't look like it, even though people don't know. And it's powerful.
And so there's one thing I want to ask you before we head to the affirmation. And you said, and it's something I ask you about because we hear from people on this show all the time about not thinking they can't make it past X or past Y. And you said to me, when I asked you how you got through, you said you had been to a place in your life so many times where you thought it was the end, and it wasn't. So what makes you think that this time is the end?
Yes. I think everybody has a story. And everybody can look back and say, I came to a point where I felt like this was it.
Yeah.
I gave up over and over. This is the worst day of my life. So many worst days have passed. So it's so important for us to look back on those worst days and realize that this worst day is now another hurdle, another experience for you to get to better. And when you get to that end, you're going to be so proud of yourself. And you're going to see why it was so important. You didn't give up because so many others have been benefited from your story, just like being here. So many others are being benefited.
Amen. I'm glad you came. Thank you very much. I hope you'll forgive us for the little bass thing. It's really Lori, not me. But thank you for coming and sharing, because there are people who will be blessed by gain in the pain. That's the part that stuck with me. And that's the part that's going to take us now to our affirmation. All right, guys. So pain. As inevitable as night will follow day, we're all going to go through it. It's a given in life, no matter who you are. You're going to feel it, and it ought. But think of all the lessons that you have learned in your life. How many of them had pain as the teacher? Pain hurts, but it makes you stronger, makes you braver, even wiser. And here's the thing about pain sometimes. It doesn't just show up in our lives for no reason. It is often that nudge that tells you something around you needs to change, and you need to change it. And yes, pain changes you, but if you let it, it can change you for the better. The pain you feel today can serve as a strength you need tomorrow. And you can turn pain into power. Pain is real, but so is hope. And someone said once that hope is an acronym for hold on, pain ends. The only way out of it is right through it. And as Brian said, pain can have a whole lot of gain. So hold on, pain ends. Tonight we are affirming, I embrace my pain as a professor that teaches me life's most important lessons. That is it for our show tonight. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We hope you got some soul food and a whole lot more from tonight's show. Thank you for joining us in our safe space. We will be here next week with another amazing story of the power of the human spirit. Until then, every blessing, and please remember to count your blessings. Good night.